This is just what authoritarian governments do. They have a lot of information, they look hard enough, and everyone has either done something wrong, or even if they haven't, you can cause them a lot of trouble by just saying they have.
3 weeks until the next government shutdown, and the moderates are finally coming out and saying, hey, Democrats, shut down the government. Do not let Donald Trump's authoritarian takeover continue. My name is Brittany Page. I host the Page Perspective on YouTube, but today I am your guest host while Jesse has COVID. Please send him well wishes. He's doing okay. We hope that he comes back very soon. In the meantime, I am honored to be here. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm happy because you are watching this and you care about the important issues. And we're still in this fight against Donald Trump. And we need to be pressuring our elected officials to do the same. Now, much of the focus has been and should be on Donald Trump's autocratic takeover. Less attention, I think, has been paid to what Democrats are doing to fight back. Democrats, of course, have been fighting back, have pushed back. We've seen in Texas, they fled the state to fight gerrymandering. In Missouri, they're holding sit-ins to fight gerrymandering. I think much of the focus when it comes to Democrats fighting back against the Trump administration is not focused on leadership, though. Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries. And that is because they tend to be figures that are focus grouping their responses to death. They want to check in with focus groups before they decide how they're going to proceed. We had, Chuck Schumer joining some of the protests saying, fight, fight, fight. But where has he been? I have long said that I wish the Democratic leadership, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, would be holding daily press conferences to highlight all of the fascistic goals of Donald Trump and all of his lawlessness, because it's difficult for people to keep track. I mean, you're watching this, you care about what's happening in the world. It may be difficult for you even to keep up with everything that happens each day in this administration. It's stressful. There's so much. It's intentional. That's why he keeps doing so much, so people have a hard time following it. But now we're starting to see moderates come out and say, hey, Democratic leadership, you need to do more. And we have a role here to play too. I want you to, either now or at the end of this video, when we have the full understanding of what's going on here, to contact your elected officials and tell them to support a government shutdown. We cannot let this continue. Who's the moderate now who's coming out? It's Ezra Klein. Ezra Klein wrote a new op-ed encouraging Democrats to act in the face of this looming government shutdown. And he wrote this op-ed, "Stop acting like this is normal." Now, the last time we faced a government shutdown was in March. And Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said that the chaos of a shutdown would essentially be bad optics for Democrats, and that Trump was losing in the courts, and that we had these other ways to kind of stop him or slow him down, and essentially that we needed to wait it out. And he gathered enough Democrats to vote and avert the shutdown past the budget. Now, other progressives are supporting a government shutdown, just like we did last time, by the way. The difference now is moderates like Ezra Klein are coming forward and saying, this is the logical next step, even if they didn't support that before. So let's get into this. If you're unsure of where you stand on the government shutdown because you see both sides, let's just hear from moderate Ezra Klein and see where you are at the end of this video. Quote, "I want to be very clear about what I'm saying here. Donald Trump is corrupting the government. He is using it to hound his enemies, to line his pockets, and to entrench his own power. He is corrupting it the way the mafia would corrupt the industries it controlled. You could still, under mafia rule, get the trash picked up or buy construction materials. But the point of those industries had become the preservation and expansion of the mafia's power and wealth. This is what Trump is doing to the government. This is what Democrats cannot fund. This is what they have to try to stop." Remember when it was controversial to talk about Donald Trump as an authoritarian or a fascist? Remember when there was a point in the campaign when Kamala Harris made an appearance, I think it was on with Anderson Cooper, when she decided to call Donald Trump a fascist for the first time. And that was really controversial. And now, here we are just, 6 months, a little over 6 months into Donald Trump's second administration, and moderates like Ezra Klein are directly talking about Donald Trump's autocratic takeover, his authoritarianism, and comparing him to the mafia. I mean, this is not Bernie Sanders. This is not Elizabeth Warren. This is not AOC, the people that everyone tries to paint as radicals. It's not them saying this. It's Ezra Klein, a moderate who wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, okay, who previously did not support a government shutdown back in March, who is now supporting a government shutdown. Never mind that columnists, by the way, like Jamil Bowie, who's fantastic, called for Democrats to actually be an opposition party back in December. Maybe people will start listening to Ezra Klein, a moderate. I wonder why they didn't listen back in December. I wonder what it is about Bowie that they are not going to listen to him back in December when he was making the same argument about Democrats being in opposition. But Ezra actually recorded a video essay version of this article, and I recommend you watch it and or read the article in its entirety. But I want to play for you just a brief portion where he begins to summarize just some of Donald Trump's lawlessness over the past few months.
Just in the last few months, we've watched Trump fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because he didn't like the jobs data. We watched him fire the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
After the agency suggested that the administration's strike on Iran only set their nuclear program back by a couple of months. We watched Trump muse about firing Jerome Powell because he wanted interest rates lower. Powell, of course, being the chair of the Federal Reserve. And now we're watching him try to fire Lisa Cook, a Federal Reserve governor, for alleged mortgage fraud. We've watched Trump sick his government on Senator Adam Schiff and Attorney General Tish James of New York. Again, allegations of mortgage fraud. I'm going to note that this is not coming after the Trump administration conducted an exhaustive review of the mortgage documents of every person serving in the executive branch right now. This is just what authoritarian governments do. They have a lot of information, they look hard enough, and everyone has either done something wrong, or even if they haven't, you can cause them a lot of trouble by just saying they have.
And honestly, it goes on for maybe 3 more minutes, just listing the things that Donald Trump has done, making the case for this direct call about authoritarianism. And I've long said that Democratic leadership should be holding daily press conferences. I think of, unfortunately, Andrew Cuomo, who held daily press conferences during COVID. Something like that, I think the Democratic leadership should be doing, but they can't even bring themselves to endorse Mamdani in New York. There's still Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer sitting on the sidelines while Andrew Cuomo, who is supported by Donald Trump, while Eric Adams, who is supported by Donald Trump, who has been offered a position in the Trump administration, they're sitting on the sidelines while Mamdani is competing with 2 handpicked Trump people, essentially. They can't even endorse him. I mean, this is disturbing. And so Ezra Klein is arguing for a shutdown, but also says that winning the messaging war, the messaging chaos that's going to come after a shutdown is going to be difficult, especially when we have the leadership that we do, when the leadership seems to be missing in action. Let's read from Ezra Klein here. Quote, "But Democrats cannot pretend this is a normal Republican administration. They cannot ignore masked agents in the street, armed troops in the cities, billions of dollars of money going into the Trump family's pockets, an administration that spins off several scandals in a week that would have consumed other presidencies for years. If Democrats cannot make an issue out of all of that, then they are screwed, and so are we. And we might be. Even if Democrats could agree on a message, do they have the messengers? Have Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer distinguish themselves as able to win an argument? Are they going to hold the line as national parks close down, as federal employees are furloughed, if checks stop going out the door, if flights are delayed because air traffic controllers aren't getting paid? I don't know that they will. I am quite certain that this moment deserves a real opposition, that Democrats, morally speaking, should not fund a government that Trump is turning into a tool of personal enrichment and power. But I am not certain that Democrats can win a shutdown. I am not certain that they have the leaders that they need. It is absolutely the case that Democrats could lose a shutdown. But whatever they're doing right now, it's not called winning. According to Gallup, the Democratic Party is polling at 34%, its lowest level in decades that Gallup has been asking the question. The Democratic Party is polling lower than Donald Trump and lower than the Republican Party. And listen, I know this video is going to risk making some of you unhappy because the sense is, in a moment when we are facing the very real threat of fascism, we shouldn't be focused on criticism of Democrats, criticism of the Democratic Party. But actually, we need to engage with criticism of the Democratic Party, especially when you hear those polling numbers. Because you watching this, you know what's going on. You're informed. You understand what's happening. You understand the risks. But many are too busy trying to survive out in the world to really pay attention to what's going on. And they operate really on kind of a vibes-based perception of how things are going, unfortunately. And a lot of that comes down to, again, like I said, survival. People are working all day long. They're tired when they get home. They're having to make dinner for their families. They don't have the energy to consume news all the time. And I understand that. So those are the people that we need to grab their attention, that Democratic leadership needs to be able to grab their attention and to inform them of what's actually going on. Think about it. Is Democratic leadership doing that? If those poll numbers are any indication, the answer is no. So I think leadership has not been doing enough. I think Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries need to get out of the way, make room for people who actually will be the opposition. I'd love to hear from you. Who do you think is doing a good job of being in opposition? Who do you think is doing a good job of communicating to the public what dangers we're facing when it comes to Donald Trump and his administration? And what is the plan? Help Democrats along here if you believe that we should not be funding the government. We should not be funding the authoritarian Trump regime. Then call your elected officials and tell them how you want them to vote. Tell them what they need to know about the government shutdown, because you do have a role to play here. Also, call us. Let us know what you think. 714-576-4054 or send an email to daily@dollemore.com. You can support our work here by going to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast or become a channel member for as little as $1.99 a month by clicking the join button below. You can also just subscribe. Subscribing is free and it is really important to help feed the algorithm. I appreciate you joining me today. I appreciate you supporting Jesse's channel while he is sick. You know, when you do this work, there's no paid sick leave. So in a way, by you watching this, by you sharing this, by you subscribing, all of those things are basically paid sick leave. All right, that is going to be me signing off for the day. I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to my channel, search my name, or click the link in the description below. Be genuine and take care of one another.